number to dictate the message herself. This year will be hard. You will suffer. The people you love will suffer. Prepare yourself. It was like I'd paused a song, which now resumed at a slightly louder volume. I shook my head again, hoping the thought might trickle out my left ear like a tablespoon of presumptuous pool water from the college gym. But with one last burst of urgency, I felt it to be undeniably true. The year would be hard. I would suffer. I needed to be prepared. This time, I listened. I knew in my gut that this was not the voice of fear or anxiety. It was not angry. I was not being punished. It was the voice of my mom calling me to let me know there's traffic ahead and to leave a little early. It was the voice of a friend tipping me off to the high expectations of a difficult professor. It was the voice of a doctor about to draw blood 2 seconds before the needle went in. Quiet desperation. I didn't tell anyone about my omen. I'm really not one for direct messages from God. I have, from time to time, wished to hear an audible voice from heaven announcing definitively that God exists, or telling me who to marry or where to go to grad school. But alas, I am subject, like most other people, to the vagaries of prayer, of belief, of faith. Truth be told, I have often doubted those who seem to have God's private phone number. It just doesn't seem realistic to say God told you where to park, and I think it would be better to tell the boy you're just not that into him, rather than that God told you to break up with him. Now you've heaped both divine and romantic disapproval on him, poor lad. For me, prayer is usually more about clearing away the clamor of life and the urgency of my insecurities so I can hear the steady, calm voice of wisdom humming beneath it all. That is why this experience was so strange. It had a conspiracy theorist, street preacher vibe to it. I felt almost embarrassed. And when I didn't feel embarrassed, I felt annoyed. For 20-odd years, my call had gone to voicemail, and all at once I got a message from an unlisted number with a foreboding voice at the other end telling me I was going to suffer. So I told no one and went about my business, quietly waiting for the shoe to drop. And it did. It dishonors a sorrow to tell it to too many people, I think, and it was not entirely my own sorrow to tell, so I hope you will excuse me if I do not share the particulars here. It is enough to say that it was crushing, that it went on and on, that there could be no happy ending. And yet, with the great grief of it clawing for my total attention, I somehow managed to graduate from college, get into Oxford and Yale for courses in religion and literature, and to turn them both down. I had tried and tried to talk myself into saying yes to one of the opportunities, but I could not. The more I prayed about it and sought that quiet voice, the more it evaded me. I could not be at peace about them, so I turned them down, half convinced it was what God wanted me to do, and half convinced I was insane for turning down the best opportunities I might ever have. More than anything, I was just bone tired. When I was honest with myself, I feared, as fragile as I was, that if I had gone, I would have splintered, leaked, and failed. I see now that there was a wisdom in my hesitancy, but at the time all I could feel was that I was stupid for turning down 2 dream opportunities. I felt that I was a coward or a fool, or very possibly both. I moved home to work and save money and get my bearings. I was so exhausted from the disappointment and sadness of it all that I was barely able to be pleasant. I began to feel that I was a drain to everyone around me. Not that there were many people around me, because I was in that strange position of returning to a place where you had once been a very different person and feeling oddly disjointed from the people you knew in high school. I avoided the friends I did have because they acted so awkward around me, either conspicuously avoiding any discussion of the sad thing while indicating its presence with a dozen significant looks, or trying to shore up the open-ended pain of it with well-meaning words. For the first time in my life, I thought a lot about dying. I didn't want to die exactly. I was just tired of living, tired of being in pain, tired of feeling lost, tired of being a drain to the people around me. So I threw myself into a handful of unglamorous jobs and tried to be okay. Henry David Thoreau aptly wrote that the mass of men live lives